you were at the height of your career. You were about to have your dream job. You were successful in sort of like in the eyes of what the world calls success. You were, you had like, you expressed you have the perfect family, the house, and there's nothing wrong with any of that. It was just wonderful. But then something happened where everything just crashed and you didn't see it coming. It came out of nowhere. So kind of just start with there and tell us what happened.
Yeah. So grew up in Southern California, and probably early 20s, I realized I wanted to go into ministry, and God just opened up doors. And the dream was to be a senior pastor someday and to preach and have a congregation, to point people to Christ. And I got to go to a church called Willow Creek in Chicagoland, and it's multi-campuses, probably about 25,000 people show up on a weekend at that time. And I was one of two people who were handpicked by the founding pastor to be his successor. And my job was going to be the lead teaching pastor, so kind of over the content and congregation. And I like saw the next 25 years of my life. I saw what it was going to be. I loved Chicago. I loved the Midwest. I loved just the people. And then it all came crashing down because allegations of both sexual abuse and abuse of power came out about my mentor, my spiritual father. And it just rocked me. I did not see it coming. And it came out in the Chicago Tribune, which is a massive newspaper, came out in the New York Times. It just was like story after story. And you're trying to pick up the pieces of, okay, what does all this mean? I just didn't see it coming.
Wow. I remember when during that time, seeing the reports and you know, now that I'm here and I'm listening to you, I can just only imagine how that was just, like I said, like I was reading your book and just so unsettling and all of the dreams that you had. Now, there's something interesting that you talked about, like befriending grief and honoring grief. And of course, I want people to read your book, but can you just walk through us to those stages how did you get those words, grieve, breathe, receive? Because I think it unlocked a lot of hope for you, but at the time you didn't feel like it was like hopeful.
So on August 5th, 2018 is the day I resigned from my job. And I grabbed my family. I knew we had people showing up at our house, news cameras.
Wow.
So we drove to Madison, Wisconsin. It was pouring rain. I woke up the next morning and I just filled with cortisol. Like, I don't have a job. I don't know if I'm getting paid. I don't know what the future holds. And I just went for a walk in downtown Madison. And I don't know if you've ever had these moments where you just cry out to the Lord, like, please give me a word. I just need a word. Like, your word is life. You know, your word, speak to me, Lord. And I didn't hear anything. And I grabbed my journal. I read like a prayer and just asked God, please give me a word. And all of a sudden, and I've only probably had this happen a dozen times, but those three words, grieve, breathe, receive, were kind of like impressed on me.
Wow.
And I go to this coffee shop and I just started to write, Steve, you have to learn to grieve what is, grieve what you thought it was going to be, grieve how key people let you down, breathe in new mercies, exhale all the bitterness and resentment, and receive what you need to learn, receive, if anything, what you need to own, and receive who Christ wants you to become because of all of this. And really, that was a gift, 24 hours later. And it became kind of marching orders for me to go, all right, we're going to have to learn how to grieve. I knew how to achieve. I knew how to like set a goal, chase it, go after it. I didn't know how to sit in sadness and grief. And so my definition for grief has been honoring what comes up when change shows up. Because any form of grief is just change. And it could be good grief in the sense of a child is getting married, but they're leaving the house. It's change. So how do you honor that change without just trying to suppress it and minimize it or bright side it or dismiss it, but actually honor it and honor it in a way that is honoring to you and also to God?
Wow.